Hey guys, Ryan said, Lake St. Clair Fishing Guide. So I wanted to talk about what kind of clothing you might need coming up to the Great Lakes. If you were coming up to fish with us at Marcel's Guide Service from out of state, or maybe you're bringing your own boat up in a spring or fall or summer situation, you're kind of curious, what's it like? What do I need to plan packing-wise, clothing? I want to talk about that today, but I think before we get into the actual clothing things, there's just some considerations that you need to think about that are possibly even more important. Everybody's body temperatures, you regulate them differently. So it's more, how do you think about the Great Lakes and what can I expect weather-wise and climate-wise, and then you can make informed decisions. The first thing you need to know is that it is usually 5 to 10 degrees cooler on the water. So for instance, if it says 80 degrees on the thermometer for the morning, or for you're looking at your weather apps, it's probably only going to be about 70 on the water. If it says 55 and you're thinking, oh, it's a nice spring day, well, on the water it's probably going to be closer to 45. So you want to think about that. These waters they're massive bodies of water with very cold water in them, and so you're going to expect 5 to 10 degrees cooler on the water. So that's something to think about as well. The second thing is that there's really no place to hide if you're chasing trophy smallmouth. Now, there are creeks and canals and rivers you can go into, but for the most part, if you're up here trying to catch them trophy smallmouth in the lake, there's really no place to hide. So you really have to think about what you're going to be wearing as far as rain gear, windbreakers, shoes, pants, etc. You can't really duck in a creek and expect to be successful like you can out in the lake most of the time. That's not to say you can't catch some fish in the river sometimes. There are some nice fish that live in the St. Clair and Detroit River, but a lot of times if you're chasing those trophies, you're going to need to be out in the lakes. And then the third thing to think about is that if the wind is blowing more than about 8 miles an hour, you are going to get wet. It's not a maybe, it's not a, I don't know, maybe we might not. You are going to get wet up here. And so plan accordingly. And if you're up here for more than probably 3 days, you can expect it's going to blow more than 8 miles an hour in one of those 3 days. So plan accordingly. What that means is some no-nos in my mind for fishing up here. Jeans, throw those out. You do not want to bring jeans up here. If it's a sunny day, they're going to be too hot. If it's a cooler day or a wet day, you're going to get they're going to get soaked and they're not really going to dry. So I never wear jeans out on the boat. It's just something that they're just not useful for what we do out here. The second thing is bulky tennis shoes that don't have some kind of waterproof in them. If those things get wet, you're just going to be sloshing them around in them all day. So you want to think about that, and you want to think more about some boots or possibly some shoes that have some level of waterproofness to them if you're going to be up here. And that it's especially true in the spring and the fall when we get even more harsher conditions. We get more wind and we get more rain. In the summer, we don't get quite as much rain in the summer. Usually, who knows, but something to think about there. So 3 considerations: always cool around the water, there's really no place to hide, and you're probably going to get wet. So those things being said, what things should you bring? Obviously the first thing is, do not leave home without the rain gear. And again, it doesn't matter if this says it's going to be sunny all day. I always throw that rain gear in the boat, especially if there's wind, because the wind, when it blows up here, you're going to get wet. There's just really no easy way to run around this lake, any of the Great Lakes really, and not get wet when it's blowing. And if it's a hot summer day, it might not be a big deal. But if it cools down, you're going to want that rain jacket. So even on sunny days, I have the rain jacket in the boat just in case I need it, in case the wind starts blowing in a certain direction. And then of course, obviously in the spring and the fall, I'm wearing this thing all the time because not only is it a rain jacket, but it's a great windbreaker. Really helpful for that. So this is the Blackfish Gear Aspire rain jacket. I like that it's nice and lightweight. That allows me to layer underneath, take layers off if I want to as the day goes on. So rain jackets are essential, and bibs as well. You're going to want bibs, especially if you're coming in the spring and the fall. You'll want a good pair of sunglasses. Again, kind of going back to that idea, there's no place to hide. There is zero shade on the Great Lakes, none at all. So you need something not just to be able to see in the water, but really just to protect your eyes. If you're out on the water all day, these deep, clear lakes, a lot of reflection from the sun coming off them, you need to be able to protect your eyes. So a good pair of sunglasses. Obviously, I love my Costas, and so make sure you've got a good pair of sunglasses with you. And they do help you to see in the water too, and that can be helpful a lot of times, especially in the spring. Other things to think about, a couple of different kinds of hoodies. A heavier hoodie, even in the summer, you're probably going to want one. There are days in the summer where it starts out at 60 degrees in Michigan, and so a heavier hoodie is nice to have for the first hour or two. And then a lightweight hoodie like this one as well. A lightweight and a heavyweight hoodie. There's a lot of days I start out with shorts and even a heavy hoodie on at times in the summertime, just because the way again, the lake being the temperatures that it is, it's a lot cooler in the mornings. Last consideration is a pair of fishing gloves. I like the ones without the fingertips. What they do, again, there's no hiding out here, and so this is just going to protect your hands a little bit. Obviously, fish got a lot of spines in them, but we also got a lot of walleye, and we've got pike, and we've got muskie, we've got perch. They're very pokey fish, so these are kind of helpful for those days, just to protect your hands a little bit. They're a helpful thing to have in the boat with you. Just save your hands from getting all kinds of cuts and things like that, because hopefully you're going to catch a bunch of fish up here. It's a great place to fish. So those are kind of my recommendations about clothing, how to think about them, some essential items, a few things to leave at home. If you've got more questions, hit me up in the comments. Be happy to chat with you, provide some additional recommendations, answer any questions you have. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you in the next video.